Easy Sports Talk Podcast. I am one of your co-hosts. I'm Javon J. Love Adams. And with me is a man who not only played professional baseball, but he also played in the National Football League for that first Super Bowl bound team for the Atlanta Falcons. I'm talking about none other than my brother, the author, the motivational speaker, Ed Smith. What is good, my brother?
We made it to Super Wild Card Weekend, man.
Super Wild Card
That's Super Wild Card. They had the next game to a Super Wild Card.
Man, and it's funny because the whole Peacock thing, I've been hearing a lot about that this week. And so a lot of people saying I'm not doing it because you love football more than me, and so you said you said on Wednesday, you said, yeah, I caved, I went ahead and got it, I got to, and I would say, all right, well, I call you up and ask you, hey, how's the game
Check
going?
out the highlights, right? Yeah. It's really unfair though when they start taking your football access away from you and forcing you to pay. I mean, especially when you think about what you go through in a season. You go get the package. That's a few $100s. Then you got to get Prime. Then you got to get this app. Then you got, and it's really is unfair that they continue to ask you to open up your pocketbook. Yep. And shell out money for a game. You know, it's like when they hit us all those years ago, Jay, for pay-per-view boxing. Something that used to come on Saturday nights. You could watch on ABC. Mm-hmm. All of a sudden now it was like you got to pay $100 to watch all these preliminary fights and then a Tyson fight that lasted 37 seconds. It's not fair.
That's true. That's when, of course, you had those fight parties because we would go over. I think I had one fight here at my house, but that was my brother. My brother had come to visit, and he said, "Hey, big bro, you gonna get that fight? All right, man, you gonna go half on me, at least get some pizza or something, because it was splitting it between two people is more than if you split it among 20 people coming to your house and they bring in a dish or something like that. But for sure." So we got a great show lined up for you today. Of course, I have some topics that I want to get my brother Ed Smith's opinion on, and so we appreciate you checking us out. I'll give you the rundown of how you can stay connected with us in just a little bit. So, want to talk about a couple things. So, talking about, of course, the topic du jour, Bill Belichick. Also, want to we talked about the first round of the playoffs on Wednesday, but take it a little bit further with drama, as my brother Ed likes to really get into. Who's going to be on the hot seat if somebody should lose, and then what's the NBA thinking? So let's get to the hottest of the topics. So Bill Belichick parted ways. He got fired, right? I mean, you say what you want to say. You got fired. Just the same thing like Pete Carroll. Pete Carroll got fired, right?
Yep.
I mean, they figure it out and do what you do, but he got fired. So my question is, well, your thoughts. We often use Bill Belichick as an example for a great coach. Just because he got fired doesn't mean that he's not one of the greatest coaches ever. So I want your thoughts on Bill Belichick, kind of almost a reflection, but he is going to get back into this coaching game. That's what's assumed. That's what's expected. We know that he had the keys to the kingdom really for the last 20 plus seasons, being not only the cook, but he was also going out and buying the groceries as well. So taking on those general manager, those GM duties. If you were hiring Bill Belichick, would you give him that responsibility, or would you say, "Hey, I know what you've done, Bill, but I just want you to coach. I want to have a relationship with you as the GM, but I'm going to do that. And you just coach." So what are your thoughts on Bill Belichick?
Well, there's a reason why there's only so few that could pull off what he did. Meaning coach and GM over the course of all these years. If it was such an easy thing to do, there would be so many of them doing it. And there's a reason why coaches coach. There's a reason why GMs GM and players play, and owners should own, but we know that doesn't happen all the time. Yeah. With Bill, what was that old saying? Absolute power corrupts.
Absolutely. Yes, sir.
And I'm not saying he was corrupt, but what happened is Bill, early on, he did, like you said, he had keys to the kingdom, and he's bringing those championships in. And it was one of those things where it was the Belichick way, it was like, because he was the one who was, like you said, going out and buying all the groceries, but he was also getting rid of the groceries early. Jay, we black man, we like leftovers. Our families, we don't have the luxury of just, hey, we cooked that steak on Monday, we're throwing it out Monday night. We stretch things out, right?
Yes, sir.
So overall, the course of these years, Bill had this tendency, he'd cook a steak on Monday, and by Tuesday morning, that's beyond me. That filet mignon or that ribeye that I cooked last night. I'm done with that. And he
Mm-hmm.
did that with his players. He was always been known for getting rid of a player a year or two too early than keeping them around. That was considered genius because he was winning all these Super Bowls, right? Now, come to find out, maybe some of those Super Bowls had something to do with Tom Brady, number TB12, right?
Yeah.
So the way he was doing things, he got away with it because everything he did was being covered up. Tom taking less money, telling them to go out and spend it, but they wouldn't, right?
Yeah.
Tom winning these championships, the culture being set, guys wanting to come there because they wanted to win a championship, not to play for Bill, but to play with Tom Brady. So over the course of all these years, this stuff, like I said, was being covered up because they were winning the championships. Then all of a sudden, Tom goes down to Tampa, gets him a chip, got into the playoffs the other years, right? That type of thing. And we started to realize, well, maybe it wasn't the Patriot way. And then some of the other facts, Jay, over the course of all these years, his head coaches, his tree, what does it look like? Everybody going to other places and try to do it the Patriot way, right?
Yes,
and they went and failed. And it's like, well, how come these guys can't do it like Bill? Well, maybe because they don't have Tom Brady as their quarterback. And maybe because the culture that they're trying to bring over there just doesn't work, especially in today's NFL. So all this stuff that Bill kind of, cultivated, what we're coming to find out was it wasn't all him. It was a lot of Tom. Now, I will say the discipline, the different, the attributes that he brought as a head coach, the no nonsense stuff like that. Okay, we'll give him that. But the Patriot way, the Bill way of it's my way or the highway, and getting rid of these groceries too early, that was covered up for many, many years by one Tom Brady. And the question now is, can his way of coaching, can he translate that to another organization? And I know you want to ask that question. That's a big question out there right now. And like I said, never played for Bill. He was coming in right when I was kind of going out. But I mean, from everything I heard, guys, they played for the Patriots for the championships, not necessarily because they loved him as a coach in his style. Right. So we're going to have to see that moving forward, what it looks like in other places.
Yeah. So what's interesting is you were saying that I came up with a couple of different analogies since I hang out with you for the last handful of years. It's almost like Bill Belichick is Jay-Z, right? So he first 3-4 albums, fire. Then you went through, then you came out with a Kingdom Come album. Hey, man, I don't know, man. I don't know. Are you choosing your beats right? What's going on? And he has a couple of mediocre ones that have been sprinkled in there. And then his last championship was like that 444 album where, okay, you can do it sometimes, but I don't know if you, and now he just drops a verse here and now, meaning you get a draft, you get a good draft here and there, player here and there, but nothing consistent. Or when it comes to that Patriot way, that father, that parent that still thinks that they can have all the control over their child who's now 21, 22, 23. Well, he ain't 6 or 10 or 15 no more. You don't have that same control. And Tom Brady said, I'm cool. You don't got to tell me to clean my room. I don't even live with you, man. You don't have that control over me. And that can be difficult to acquiesce, to be able to change your stripes, especially when it's something to that extent, I would imagine.
Absolutely. And, I think one of the things, and you talk about like with Tom wanted to break out and show, and I think he did it. And it was almost like you bring up the analogy of a child, Jay. The child went away to college and he rebelled a little bit because Tom got away, and all of a sudden he was down there with our boy
Bruce Arians.
Bruce Arians, BA. And it was like, well, it's okay to have a drink at 5. It's okay to, leave a little early and do it. And Tom kind of went down there and showed that, hey, I can have a little fun. And he brought Gronk down there, and Gronk got a chance to show out. Gronk went out there and was just like, all them years playing under Bill, I'm with, now mom and dad, I can't tell me what time to go to sleep. I can eat what I want to eat, drink what I want to drink. And it was kind of like Tom went down there almost to show everybody, us, and show Bill, I can, do this without you, and it wasn't all you. And I think that was kind of, and then you look at the record, Bill's record over the, because the only thing that changed for the most part was Tom left, and he took all his friends with him and friends that wanted to come over and play with him at his house. And we saw Bill's not good at going to find the talent without time. He's not good at drafting the talent. We've seen that.
Yeah.
And I mean, think about it. How many over the course of the 24 years, Jay? How many Pro Bowlers did they actually draft there in New England? Everybody was a free agent from somebody else's organization. Even all the greats, they were from somewhere else that he went cherry picked, brought in, and then as soon as he was done with him, he's done with him. But you don't have any guys that they've drafted and spent their entire career there, other than time. And they, so there's a whole lot of evidence out in front of us, just slapping us in the face, that's letting us know Belichick is one of the great not coordinators, but choreographers of, constructing the legacy of the team, but as far as drafting it, there was a lot of things that are now being exposed. He's not, as good at certain things that he got a lot of credit for because they were being covered up by time.
Easy Sports Talk Show. He is Ed Smith. I am Javon Adams. So let's get into this. So because you love drama and you love all kinds of chaos and confusion, this super playoff,
super wild card weekend.
Super wild card weekend of these games, because there's some coaches that are out there, right? So, or just maybe some coaches that are on the hot seat, even if they're in the playoffs. Is there one coach that, should he lose this first round matchup, that he is the hottest of the hot seat and might find the door? Because I think, I'll let you go first. I think I can think of one that comes to mind already.
Yeah, for me, I mean, if you think about it, teams that make the playoffs, they're either, every year there's new teams that get in. So there's some surprises. You got a young DeMeco Ryans. It's like, wow, look what they did. Then you got, Shanahan in San Fran, and Harbaugh and with the Ravens is like, well, you better get in, but not necessarily because your seat is hot, but you got all that talent. Now the expectations are, it's not necessarily Super Bowl or bust, but it's at least get to the NFC or AFC Championship game, get to the big game. If you lose, there's no shame in that, but you should be up there, right? Then there's a couple teams like, damn, how the hell they get in there? Tomlin. You look at Bowles over in Tampa Bay. Both of those teams was like, if you get beat.
I think Bowles, we said it earlier in the season that he looked around and said they started winning because everybody thought they were just going to be garbage. He said, well, I'll be damned.
I'll be damned.
How about that?
Yeah. Then there's a dude, man, that constant pressure all the time because of where he coaches and that star on the helmet and the dude that's always running his mouth, meaning the owner. And I'm reading a quote. They were asking him about McCarthy's future, and Jerry was like, we'll see how each game goes. Almost like he's leaving the door. Well, this is phase one. If we don't get to phase 3, meaning it ain't not going to be acceptable to just get to the wild card and lose, or even get to the NFC Championship game. I only got a few years left here. We need to either win a Super Bowl, or I need to go find somebody who's going to win me a Super Bowl. And it's almost like, Jerry, that clock is ticking, and regardless of what McCarthy does in the regular season, you imagine if they let Green Bay come over there and win against them, and it's over just like that. This is the thing about the playoffs, bro.
Yeah.
It's final. Yeah. Well, I've been there when all these expectations, and all of a sudden, before you know it, the game's over, and it's like, all right, well, we got final meetings tomorrow, and we got to travel back home, and we'll see what the offseason brings. It is final. It's not a 7-game series where, okay, we're going to go get them tomorrow. And we got to turn this around, So the finality of everything can cause people to go crazy. And Jerry is at that point where it's either that man ain't got too many. You look at Jerry, he ain't got 10, 15 years left on his earth, if you ask me. So he's thinking, I need to get me one of these chips. It's been 30 years, and he's been talking all this stuff. And Mike McCarthy, you go and mess around and lose against Green Bay coming in there and not even get to the divisional round or NFC championship game or my Super Bowl that I want. You go ahead and you see how hot that seat can get, or how all it's going to take, Jay, is the right reporter to ask the right question and let Jerry go. It's like one of them dolls. You pull the string, boy, you get that right question out there and let Jerry go. And before we know it, Mike McCarthy might be cleaning out his office. So, bro, that's my man. I didn't mean to run long on that, but
no, you good. You a fool for that. I was thinking, and you you probably win this one. You probably win between your choice and mine. But I was thinking Sean McDermott from Buffalo, because there's the expectations, really, that window, it's closing on the Buffalo Bills. And so I think if he doesn't get it done, then if they go out in the first round, then that's because every year they have these Super Bowl aspirations, and they have enough talent. They have the quarterback that should be able to get them there, as long as he's not turning the ball over one way or the other. But the point is, I think Sean McDermott, if you look at me, because they could go get a Vrabel maybe, right? Or so there are options that are out there. So if you dating somebody and your significant other is looking at you like, man, there are options out here. You can treat me bad. I got options. Options. So there's expectations on Sean McDermott. So that's why I would go with the Buffalo Bills. But I do see your point with the Dallas Cowboys. But I just wonder, especially if it comes to giving up some of that control, that some of those coaches that come in, again, that you don't, just because you ask for it and you get it doesn't mean that you are able to do what to accomplish that task. Meaning, I want to be able to do the GM duties and the head coaching duties. That's a big task, and so not everybody can do that. But I know that Jerry Jones wouldn't want to let that go, since he is the president, the GM, the owner, and he does it all.
Yeah, I think you got a great call with McDermott too. I think with McDermott, they faltered so early in the season, but then they had this rally to even take the division and get back into everything. His star is shooting up, whereas Jerry and them, like they sometimes they peak so early in the season, and it's a even bigger letdown when they get into the playoffs, when everything is like right in front of them. All you got to do is this, and this, and then they come up short. It's almost like they're false, and especially because it's Jerry and the Cowboys, constantly over covered ad nauseum. It seems like the disappointment is magnified over there in Dallas, where like with Buffalo, sometimes it's like, well, it's Buffalo, they lost 4 Super Bowls in a row at one time. And so, so the expectations, you and I always talk about expectations can sometimes dictate, reality, or, fog people's reality up, because Dallas is always supposed to be winning the Super Bowl every year, since 1993 or 4. It's like we're at the point now where it's like, it's just, man, when they going to either get this done, it's like it or get off the pot, one or the other,
Right. Easy Sports Talk Show podcast. He's Ed Smith. I'm Javon Adams. So leave me with this, man. So I came across, so the story comes across on my phone, some type of update. When you watch the NBA draft, okay, humor me like you watch the NBA draft. But do you would you stay for the second round? Bruh. Because by the first, if it's a deep draft, maybe by pick 10, maybe pick 13, you're okay. Now maybe you stick around for the end of the first round, but you're not sticking around for the second round, right?
Bro, when the lottery portion of it is done, meaning, like you said, the first 10 to 14 picks, it's like, and especially, Jay, because now we don't even know the players. We got guys, the one and dones. My own, every year now, I have to come back to my roster at North Carolina. It's like, okay, who transferred, who's the newcomers, and college basketball has become a whole, like, every year you got to pick up the program to figure out who's where and who's even around, because nobody's the good players are not staying past their first year. Right. So the talent is so anonymous for us, one, and underdeveloped, but that we're looking at these young players, 19 years old, going to an organization that stinks already, and hey, we'll see you in 3 or 4 or 5 years when you eventually either become a fringe all-star guy, or maybe you'll do something spectacular, a one dunk or something like that opens our eyes. But we don't even know these guys. And now, like I said, so who's going to stick around for the second round, let alone second day of an NBA draft?
And that's the thing. So the NBA is exploring, and they're probably going to do it because it comes down to more money. They're exploring making the NBA draft a 2-night event. So the first round would be one night, and the next night would be the second round. But again, because these second round picks, they barely make the team. So why would you stick around for that? It's not as if it's not similar. That would be like watching the NFL draft. If it was, we're just going to show you 2 rounds. Okay, which rounds are going to show you? Day 1, we're going to show you round 1, and day 2, we're going to show you round 7. And then nobody's watching round 7.
Yeah, and the other thing, Jay, is some of these players, like once like they start going international, and it's like who, from Lovaskovia, it's like, God, they went deep to find this one. People that we don't even know, never even heard of, and that, like you said, is one thing. Like if in the NFL, you get past the first round, they do it, and then they do the second day, they do like 2 and 3. Yeah. If you're sticking around for like the third day in the 7th round, it's like you got a problem, bro. You need to be.
You really, really love the NFL.
You need help. Yeah.
Yeah.
So the fact that they're trying to stretch this one out, it's like, wow, first off, it's only 2 rounds and nobody cares about the second round.
The only way that this could work, in my opinion, is if you, instead of letting players leave after 1 year or come into the NBA or make themselves eligible for the NBA after 1 year, make it 2 years. And either you, as soon as you graduate high school, either you declare or you not. If you go, it's almost like a college baseball, right? Yeah. Where you either go into the draft or you go into college, go and play for college, but you're there for 3 years. And then so, okay, then in terms of the baseball world, you get to know some of these players. So I wouldn't go as far as 3, but I would say 2. But then the thing is, if you give a lot of players, because Ray would be saying, I'm not going to college. I'm gonna make myself eligible for the draft, and he wouldn't get drafted, and then he would be out of luck and just sitting there, and you might find him at your nearest Starbucks or Dunkin' Donuts saying, if it wasn't for my coach, I could have been the next star. No, if it wasn't for you getting your eyes getting bigger than your stomach and you just gone to college for a couple of years to see how you progress and then get out there and make your money. But
man, they need to figure this one out, because you talk about making a mistake, bro. It's not. It's yeah.
Ain't no talk about because people love to throw the ratings in the NBA's face, which I think it's not really fair. It's apples and oranges, because there's a smaller amount of inventory when it comes to NFL games versus the NBA. I know the slog of the 82. I get it, but still, when you look at the ratings, so they would bash those ratings like you wouldn't believe, because nobody would watch the second round. Nobody would watch. Not even the most avid basketball fan would watch that second round.
You know what it is, Jay? It's monkey see, monkey do. The NBA is looking around at the other leagues, man. Everything is based off of football. We know that. Yeah. And we've seen football rotate their draft around now all of a sudden, and make it 3 days where, and the NBA is like, well, we can do that too. It's like, no, you can't do that. Yeah. Everything is.
We can, because we got 2 rounds, 1 day, 1 round, next day, other round. That's what we do.
Here's the other thing I hate, Jay. You'll watch a draft where the Bulls draft somebody at pick 7, right? Yeah. And by pick 13, he's been traded 4 times to 4 different teams. This team has his rights, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, well, I thought the Bulls drafted him. No, they traded him for this and draft
consideration, cash considerations,
and pick 9, and this and that. And next thing you know, you're like, well, you don't even know the dude got drafted. I don't know who he was. I don't even know where he is now. It's like, what the hell?
Indeed. So that is Ed Smith. I'm Javon Adams. We do this thing 3 times a week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Go to easysportstalk.com, easysportstalk.com. to find out what we're involved in. Every Saturday from 1 to 3 Eastern, we have our terrestrial radio show on Sports Map Radio. Go to sportsmapradio.com, sportsmapradio.com. In the upper right corner, you can click on the little play icon, and then you can play wherever you are, or if you want to listen, if you're not in one of the 98 markets that we're in. Also, we do the Believe in the Arizona Cardinals podcast. The newest one is up and out there in the world. There, you can go to easysportstalk.com and check that out, or you can also go to believe.com. You can search Believe in Cardinals; it'll pop up. SiriusXM app, all that good stuff, and of course, as I mentioned, we do this Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, the Easy Sports Talk podcast, and you can search that wherever you find, and you hear my dogs barking in the background, and that's how we do it. So on behalf of the one and only Ed Easy Smith, I'm Javon J. Love Adams, and as we always like to say around this time, you can